everybody, it's Elizabeth with the Noonan Carnegie Library, and today we're going to make a couple of different kinds of paper lanterns that you can hang around in your room or anywhere else that you'd like to decorate outdoors. You can also string lights through the bottoms of these. So this is the regular paper lantern, and I've got two different colors here. And then also we're going to make one that looks like a fish. And I've got two different colors of that one as well. And most of what you will need for this will just be paper in whatever solids or print colors that you like. You can buy packs of 12 by 12 sheets, and they come in a variety of different colors, patterns, that sort of thing. Or you can also print a pattern out just onto some regular paper and use that as the base for your lanterns. So thank you guys for joining me today, and let's get started. The first one we're going to do is the fish, and he's going to end up looking similar to this. Lots of fun, almost like a windsock, but very decorative, very pretty. And what you need for that is to cut your paper strips. And I've cut these 3/4 of an inch thick. And then because I worked with a 12 by 12 sheet, the longest piece is 12 inches. And then I've got two that are 11 inches, one that's 10 inches, one that's 9 inches, one that's 8 inches, one that's 7, and one that's 6.5 inches, one that's 5, and one that's 4. And what's important is not as much the lengths of these as the ratios. So if you had an 8.5 by 11 inch piece of paper, and you wanted to start with that, then your centerpiece might be 11 inches, and the two pieces on either side of that would be 10, and then you'd have 9, 8, 7, 6, 5.5, 4, and 3 instead. So they'd be a little smaller. Your fish would come out a little smaller, but you could still get all of the necessary lengths out of one sheet of paper for that. And so I'm working with a basic red here. The other two things that you're going to want to cut is you're going to want two pieces for your tail fin that match, so they can overlap like that and match up. So we're going to do that, and then two pieces for fins that will go on the side, and you want them to kind of match as well. They don't have to be perfect because they're not going to overlap each other. One's going to go on one side and one's going to go on the other. So your end fish will have fins on either side and a tail fin as well. And then you'll also need some glue. So I've got tacky glue, I've got glue sticks. I'm going to work with the glue sticks because that's a little bit easier to work with on this. And I've also got some tape here, so when the time comes to attach the string to the interior, I may be working with tape more than the glue, just to make sure that that string stays where I want it to stay. So the first thing we're going to do is take each of our sizes and make them into a circle. So we're just going to put some glue on one end, overlap it, and then let it dry. There we go. Hold that together for a second or two to give it a chance to adhere, and then let that dry. And do that with each of the pieces. The other way you can attach the string if you wanted to is to put holes on each side, so almost like buttonholes, 1, 2, and then on the opposite side 1, 2, and use a needle to thread the string through those holes. I'm just going to go with the tape today because that's a little faster, but if you wanted to make these longer term, or if you wanted to use any kind of, make them a little more permanent, or make them a little more attractive even, for your own purposes, you could always add that element of the sewn thread. Get all of these into a good circle, and that'll be the basis for our fish and his belly. And this one is super simple, so once you've got one made, you're gonna wanna make a bunch and run a garland. It'll be really pretty. If you ever have trouble getting the glue to stick, you can either use stronger glue or add a little piece of tape just to hold things into place. There's 11, there we go, 8, and then this other 6.5. Of course, you can always use the tape too if you didn't have glue in the first place. It's clear tape, so it's not going to be super visible on your finished fish. When you go to put the string in, you want to put, that string evenly spaced, so on opposite sides of each circle, so that he'll hang pretty well the way you want him to. There we go, just like that. So I'm going to go ahead and add the string. We'll start with our mouthpiece. So the tail piece is the very smallest piece, so it is the one that we have cut for 4 inches. And the mouthpiece is going to be at the other end, that 6.5 inch length on that end. So I'm going to start on that end, and I think what I'm going to use is this ribbon for this red fish. It'll contrast nicely. ribbon into the paper. And I'm going to attach it on the inside with tape so that it'll hold firm. Placed just about opposite one another and make sure your hanger's even. There we go. That's going to be our first piece attached. And then just keep doing that with each subsequent size until we get all the way to the tail end, and then we'll start attaching the other little pieces. Just keep working with your each piece until you get them all attached. Almost to the middle now. fun thing about the fish is once it's all put together, it moves, so that's always neat. I think this is our middle piece. It is. It's the 12-inch one, so we're halfway there. Progress. More pieces and we'll be done with the body, and then we'll be able to move on to the fins. body. So now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to stick the tail on, and we're going to do that by gluing the pieces together around either side of the ribbon. Out precisely where we want our tail to be, and I'm going to double my ribbon up under it because I'm going to do something else with that as well. So I want my tail to be right about here. Together with a little tape. And glue my tail onto it. Go. So I doubled my ribbon into the tail and glued the two pieces of tail on either side of that ribbon. And what I'm going to do with that, to make this a little fancy, is cut those pieces that I doubled up under and make them curly with the scissors. Not super tight and curly, just a little bit curly. So now he's got a super fancy tail. And then the other thing you're going to do is on about the fourth center ring, we're going to glue our fins to either side. So I'm going to actually tape them because they'll stick better that way. So ring number 4. Down from the head. That little outward bend. There we go. All right, and do the same thing on the other side. Bend, and there is our completed fish. You could even put googly eyes on him right there if you wanted to. And he's got a little fancy tail. So the second one we're going to do is this shape lantern, which I really like because, like I said, you could run some string lights up inside and make a garland out of these. They're very pretty. And you can make them out of all kinds of different types of paper. So what we've got is the body is going to be made out of 8.5 by 11, and I've cut a 1/4 inch off, so it's actually 8.5 by 10 3/4. And then you're going to need some 3/4 inch strips These will be the two decorative strips on either end like this, and then one to make the handle. And you can do these with all kinds of patterns. I've got some other ones cut out, but I'm just gonna work with this blue for now. So the first thing you wanna do is fold your paper long ways. And then measure about 3/4 of an inch in from the end that's not got the fold in it. And since I have a strip of paper already cut that's 3/4 of an inch, I'm just gonna use that to make my line. And what that's gonna be is don't cut past this line so that your lantern will hold together on either end. And we're just gonna fold things so that that line that you draw is gonna be on the inside. But you'll have a line across the top, 3/4 of an inch down. And then the other thing you're gonna do is mark every 3/4 of an inch down the side to make these cuts. So these are 3/4 of an inch wide. And you'll cut from that fold in the middle up to the line past which you don't want to cut. And again, we're going to fold this so that the lines you draw are on the inside and you won't have to see them. And we're just drawing lightly in pencil, so they're not going to be super dark anyway, just enough to give you a little guide. And because we cut that 1/4 inch length off the end, these will be totally even. So 10 3/4 will break up into very even amounts for the 1/4 inch strips. And so going from the middle where the fold is, we're gonna cut those lines up to that point where we're not gonna cut past anymore. And that will give you your basic shape for this lantern. Again, these are super easy to do, so you can do a whole bunch, and you can pick complementary colors and patterns to do them out of to make garlands. And they're very pretty when they're all hung up. Once you've got all your cuts, you can see the paper will spread apart but not come apart because it'll be attached on either end. Make that clear to you. There you go. So you've got a strip of uncut paper on either end. And then we're going to fold this the other way so that the drawn lines are on the inside. And your folds are going to go out that way. And then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take our decorative strips and glue them across the top. And because I've cut the decorative strip out of paper that is 12 inches long, it's going to be a little longer than our 10 3/4, and that's fine because we want a little overlap. And I'll show you why in just a minute. So I'm just gonna, again, use a glue stick to glue these together. Super easy. You can also use tacky glue if you want something that's a little stronger than the regular glue stick, but I found the glue stick is holding these together just fine. Line that up with the top edge and leave a little overlap on both sides and flatten it down so that your strip is a little longer on either side than the actual lantern is going to be. Line it up at the top real good and let that dry. And then do the same thing with the bottom. Line it up along the bottom, leave a little overlap on both sides. That doesn't have to be perfect because it's gonna be the way we attach our lantern together. Okay, and then we're gonna make a circle and we're gonna overlap one whole strip on the end over this whole strip on this end. It's gonna come together like that. And we're gonna glue a whole side strip to the top of the other side strip. So let's go ahead and add glue to the bottom of that, the inside of that side strip. And glue that together. And then you're gonna have a little flap on the inside and a little flap on the outside for your decorative strips. And I'm gonna add a little glue to the top of the inside flap so it holds into the interior. And then to the bottom of the outside flap so that it holds as well. And you can always reinforce with tape if you feel like you need to. A little tape on the inside there to hold things into place. And do the same thing with the bottom end. Okay. Get your glue onto the inside of that strip and to the top of the inside strip. Give you a little bit of extra support. Almost got our body done. Add a little reinforcement tape just to hold things together good. There we go. Okay. And then the last step for this particular thing is to attach the handle. And I'm just going to do that with tape, because I don't think the glue will necessarily hold when you start to try to hang that on something. So tape is good for that. You can also use a staple if you wanted to. So lay that down. There we go. And tape that to the inside. Do the opposite side the same way. Get it kind of lined up exactly opposite of the other side. Tack it down good. And then you've got, make sure all of them fold outwards instead of inwards. And you've got your lantern completed. So these are super simple, like I said, and you can find all kinds of complementary colors of paper and patterns, and these ones I just printed a pretty bird pattern out and did those for that one. I've got some red here that's got stripes that we could use to make one, so if you wanted bolder colors. This is what that bird pattern looks like, very simple, and then the other one, the other bird pattern is actually more colorful, so I made the handle for this one out of that and the complementary strips out of a green, sort of a grassy green. So all kinds of different colors and shapes of papers that you can use. You can either use 8.5 by 11s or 12 by 12s, whatever works best for you. And these can be found in all kinds of different places and made into all sorts of wonderful little decorations. So thank you guys so much for joining me. Make sure and check our Instagram, our Facebook, and our website at noonandcarnegie.com for other resources and videos. And I hope you'll join me again soon for some more crafts and videos. Thank you guys. See you soon.